What does he have to do with this?
Let anything, you know what I'm talking about. Let anything. Nah, I don't have to say it right now. Don't worry about it. I don't got to say it up here. Let anything happen. And I'm going to show you and him. Bet.
In shape, 145.
Yeah.
In shape. You know what I mean? So this is different from a Crawford coming up to 168, but we know his walk-around weight is probably 170, 180.
The fight that I couldn't believe, that was too insane and honestly just baffling to think would be a real fight in 2025, reminds you that combat sports are the craziest sports on the planet.
The press conference for the Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul fight spiraled into complete chaos, turning what should have been a routine promo event into a fiery clash. Things heated up when Davis snapped after being asked why he picked Paul instead of higher-ranked contenders. Jake didn't hold back either. He shot back with jabs about Davis's personal issues and even poked fun at his background, pushing tensions to the edge until moderators were forced to step in and cool everything down.
Box, and truly when people run back this press conference, all the shit talk, all the fun, they're gonna be like, wow, this kid really is doing something monumental in the sport, and he's actually an insane boxer, and I'm gonna show that this guy who's been doing it his whole life has been doing it wrong his whole life.
What'd you say, Tank?
He said he gonna outbox me. Whoop-de-doo.
The one thing, when you have a fight of this magnitude, especially with Jake, because his appeal has been global, for you, Tank, do you think this is one of those fights where now all of a sudden you can show your boxing skills on a global scale to maybe people who weren't interested in boxing? All of a sudden they say, well, who is this guy?
Yeah, it's actually like, you know, now that I'm looking at it now, it's just like, I don't know.
From the moment they started talking, it was clear this wasn't going to be a friendly back and forth. Jake Paul, standing at 6 feet 1 inch, clearly towered over the 5 feet 5 inches Gervonta Davis, putting the size difference on full display and fueling the arguments leading up to the fight. Paul used it as ammo, bragging that his reach and punching power would keep Davis from getting close. But Davis, a proven, elite lightweight champion, brushed it all off, promising that his speed and accuracy would completely erase any size advantage once the bell rings. One of the biggest talking points leading into this fight has been the massive gap in size between the two. Analysts and media outlets have called the matchup unbalanced, with some even labeling it more of a spectacle than a legitimate contest. Davis, an undefeated lightweight star, is stepping in against a social media celebrity-turned-boxer who usually competes at much heavier weights. With the bout being promoted more like an exhibition than an official championship fight, the debate around its credibility has only intensified.
But yeah, that was that. This time, Jake Paul is to take on Tank Davis. Tank Davis, he was recently in the news for being arrested for a domestic violence incident involving one of his kids' mother. He was alleged to have slapped her about the place. The charges were later dropped, to be fair to him. But yeah, that was when he was last in the news. What is interesting is just a couple of months ago, Tank Davis was saying openly that he'd lost his passion for boxing and that he wanted time away from the sport. There was speculation that he might even retire as he was experiencing extreme mental fatigue from boxing, depression, and there were mental health concerns over him. However, I guess the opportunity to earn a truck full of money fighting a completely worthless exhibition fight against Jake Paul was enough to make him change his mind about boxing. Funny that, isn't it? But you know what? I'm not even going to waste your time or mine critiquing this utter nonsense. Suffice to say that this so-called fight we're talking about is an exhibition, and it pits Jake Paul, who is a cruiserweight, by the way, weighs in excess of 200 pounds, and Tank Davis, who is, he was the WBA lightweight champion, who weighs in at about 135 pounds when he fights. So that's a disparity of some 65 pounds. In old money, that's about 4.5 stone. There's also a significant difference in height. Jake Paul is roughly, 6'1", 2. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" at best. So, there's a height disparity there of some 8 inches. And once again, this is Jake Paul showing total disrespect to boxing, in my opinion. Once again, continued to pimp out the sport for his own financial ends. And worse still, the powers that be in boxing allowing him to get away with it and facilitating this utter bullshit. And meanwhile, what's even worse about this is that meanwhile, the WBA lightweight title that Tank Davis should be defending against Lamont Roach in a rematch.
Jake Paul is known for leaning into drama and theatrics, and this press event proved it once again. Everything seemed staged for viral clips, from goofy props to pushing matches and personal insults. The whole thing looked less like a serious boxing presser and more like a reality TV moment. Reports described the atmosphere as wild, noisy, and full of over-the-top antics, offering plenty of entertainment but not much real substance.
That Jake will kind of bounce in between doing these entertainment fights and then, trying to push toward his goal of ingraining himself in the sport of boxing, and kind of does both of them. So it's kind of a weird place to be, because he wants the respect of the boxing fans and the boxing hierarchy and hardcore boxing people, but at the same time, he'll gain some of that and then lose some of it. It's like a seesaw of his fights. Like one fight, and be like, okay, that's a real fight, or that's a real fight. And he'll go and he'll win the fight. Julio Cesar Chavez, real fighter, maybe past his prime, whatever, but Jake goes and wins that fight pretty easily, and then gets a lot of respect, gets a lot of the boxing hardcore love. And you have these talks about him fighting Anthony Joshua, and that was going to get even more respect. More people were like, that's fucking crazy. What are you doing? Myself included. That seemed like a massive risk, but a lot of people were like, okay, fair play. Anthony Joshua, that's a real heavyweight. Jake wants to fight him. He's a psycho, but fair play. And then you announce this one, and it's like, well, that's the same thing people have been saying about Jake for years. So it's a weird spot to be in for him, for sure. But I talked about this not being the first choice, and I don't think it was, because Coppinger reports next that talks for Jake Paul to face Anthony Joshua collapsed over network issues. Now, we had all heard the talks, and they were pretty public, from Eddie Hearn, from Jake. Nakisa Badarian, Jake's manager, was over in the UK on, I think, Sky Sports, talking about the fight and saying how it was a real...
Keith Thurman pointed out a pretty ironic truth. The people who constantly criticize Davis are actually helping him. The same folks who tear apart his performances never skip watching him fight. Thurman explained that even negative attention keeps Davis in the spotlight, boosting his relevance and profile. In trying to bring him down, they're actually making his name even bigger.
With Tank, first off, don't watch Tank. Don't do it. You know what I'm saying? You support it, then what you doing? You can't not support and support at the same time, right? So if you're a boxing purist, then this fight with Roach is really more for you. It's going to be more up your alley, If you just like all entertainment, all fights, all hypes, all everything, then you're going to want to tune in to the Tank and Paul show there, because that's all for entertainment. What is it? For entertainment purposes only, right? It's just say like somewhere in the small print of the promotion. For entertainment, don't do this at home, kids. Sometimes
Disclaimer.
Yeah, disclaimer. For entertainment purposes only, So, it's money-making purposes only,
Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back when addressing the trend of mismatched exhibition fights like Paul versus Tyson. He called them disappointing and harmful to the sport, insisting that Jake Paul should fight active, legitimate contenders instead of older legends. While Smith admitted Paul is a master promoter who knows how to draw eyes, he also defended Gervonta Davis after the controversial draw with Lamont Roach, praising Tank's calm response and willingness to run it back, which Smith said shows real championship mentality.
Is a professional. At some point in time, I don't give a damn if it's a light heavyweight. Better BF, Bivol, a super middleweight, Canelo, Mexican Monster, David Benavidez, somebody that actually has a reputation. The time has come for Jake Paul to step into the ring with a cat who actually boxes for a living and give us that fight. I appreciate the fact of him promoting. I appreciate him having the cachet as a former YouTuber turned boxer. I like Jake Paul. I respect Jake Paul. I'm just saying, because I like him and because I respect him, I want to see him in the ring. And I don't want to hear, I know his numbers are better, but then he gonna say, I don't need Canelo, Canelo needs me. Well, wait a minute. It ain't just about...
Stephen A. Smith also placed Davis among the top 3 fighters on the planet, applauding his strength, skill, and knockout power. He argued that a world-class champion like Tank going up against Jake Paul, a YouTuber with limited professional experience, could damage Davis's reputation. Smith said the matchup is far below Davis's level and that Tank should feel embarrassed for even agreeing to it.